Hello and welcome to this latest Model Office training video. This time we're focused on two automated reports that you can download from your Model Office dashboards. The first one is the Strategic Compliance and Audit report, and this aggregates and pulls through all relevant data at a high level basis so that you can get a snapshot of where you are on the compliance scoring across the six regulatory keys, how we break down the FCA handbook. So here is the report on the overview dashboard, which we call the high level regulatory dashboard, and obviously you click on the download button like so, and what this will then do is start to look at all the relevant data across all those six regulatory keys and the associated business functions, and it will pull down all that data into a PDF report. Really a summarizing document to showcase how you're performing, what are the main key areas you might need to focus on as a business. So here you can see the report has downloaded. So if we go to the top of the report, then it's all date stamped as well. So it will give you the contents, which you can then click, or with clickable links, give you an introduction of why this is important, particularly with a data-led regulator, and placing really evidence-based practice at the heart of everything you're doing. And Model Office, if you may remember, is really a third line of defense for your business across all governance, risk and compliance requirements. So we then have an overview of the scoring and how the algorithms, the AI algorithms, heat map your scores. Gives you an overall view of a radar chart about how firms are scoring across the six regulatory keys, and then it will give a kind of like a infographic, really is the best way to describe this, which gives full information about what the FCA are kind of like expecting in your consumer duty board reports, and we'll talk about that in a little while when we showcase the automated version of the consumer duty board report, which we've just released. We then have the individual six keys, which then pull down all the relevant dashboard content, as you can see, across the score against all the rules and regulations, against how the best are doing on the platform, and then giving a target of how to improve. And then you've got all the what we call business functions or governance, risk and compliance modules and how they're individually scored. And then it will pull through for each of the individual regulatory keys the top 5 areas on the action tracker, which is effectively the automating of the gap analysis and audit reporting, and that looks at all the red areas that the firm, your firm, might need to address and get on with. And it's the same for your engagement, exactly the same process. Consumer duty, which we'll touch on in a little while on the more detailed consumer duty board report. Your promise, which is the kind of service proposition, the retirement and investment proposition and research tools that you're using, financial planning processes and so forth. And then you've got systems, which is the back, the front, the middle office, activities, management, workflows, life cycling, data, resilience and so forth. And then finally, you've got people, which is the area, which is the HR area, and looking at all the onboarding, recruitment, the legals, SMNCR, TNC, and anything associated with employment and your staff within the business. So once that's done, it will then give you some templates that you can download and use for strategic planning purposes. And again, these are examples that you can just take and start to apply them to your business across those 6 areas and rag rate them as you will. So that hopefully gives you an idea of how the high-level strategic report works, and that's available for you as a business whenever you wish to download that and use it maybe as a board report tool on maybe a quarterly basis. Then we have the Model Office Action Tracker. Now you may remember the Action Tracker is effectively automating your gap analysis and audit reporting. But what we've got here is we've kind of looked at this and looked at, well, what we ideally want to do is help firms structure and strategize, if you like, their consumer duty board report, and plus also automate it. So you can see here the consumer duty board report if you click on that, it looks exactly the same as the action tracker. So it's looking at the filters, looking at severity, status. The regulatory key in this case is just the consumer duty. The business functions are all just the consumer duty areas. And then person responsible, who's responsible for the individual areas, how it's been answered, notes. We've also got complaints and good outcomes and poor outcomes in there, and changes to business policy, procedures and strategies to meet any changes that need to happen in these areas. And then if any documents have been added to the actual action in question. So if I just click on this area, then we can see that what this is doing is this is effectively looking at an individual area of the consumer duty that the firm is being assessed on. In this particular case, it's consumer duty governance. They've answered this question like so, and they can update their answer on here, ideally to it's above the required level once they've done the work. They can also look at the checkpoints and make sure they've checked the checkpoints to get this completed, and then they can click on any links which may go into any resources. So here, for example, you've got the final guidance FCA paper on the consumer duty, so which then takes you straight to that section, so you can actually do some reading and get a better knowledge idea of how to improve this area. We've also got pop-up resources that we call them, which goes into either the rules, the regulations, or the individual areas of the FCA rule book. So in this particular case, it's going into the consumer duty rule that applies. So we have a triple lock here. So that basically means that you can't complete this until you've got the checkpoints checked, you've updated it to the right level, and you've got the most senior person added in here. You can also give it a status: on track, delayed, severely delayed. You can't complete it because I haven't yet given it the top answer, and now I can complete that. And once that's completed, it will all live forever on the action tracker, the board report, but it will just show as completed in that filter function I showed earlier on. You can also add this as it gives a target remedy date, so like a countdown clock to get this completed, and you can add it to a calendar, so it gives you an automated alert system. Drag and drop any files that are associated with this particular area in to here, so again building up that audit trail and that line of defense. And then you've got the ability to make notes. You can, if there's a complaint in this area, you can add the complaint. You can choose a file to add in, and then add that in. And you've also got any good or poor outcome issues. So any good outcomes you might want to evidence that are really showcasing you're doing great work. Any poor outcomes and remedial strategy that you've got. And again, you can pull in any file into this. So again, it's evidencing and building that audit trail that you are actually actioning these potential poor outcomes, foreseeable harms and so forth for your clients, and evidencing it's all in one place. And you've also got any changes you may have, which is obviously part of the FCA's requirements to take a look at. If you've got poor outcomes, you've resolved that poor outcome, what changes have you made to your policies, procedures or business strategy in this given area. Choose a file if you want to. It could be multiple files, again building up that audit trail. So that really is showcasing you're working on a real-time consumer duty board report. But the most important thing, as ever, what the FCA will want, if they ever come knocking, then they would want to see that board report. And obviously your board, your senior managers, if you're a smaller business, just the C-suite and the senior team would need to see that board report and evidence that work has been done. So from that side of it, what we can effectively do is go back, and then you can see here you've got the Consumer Duty Board Report PDF that you can download in a similar fashion to that strategic high-level audit report that I showcased earlier on. It's the same principle. It will pull down all the relevant issues that apply, but in this case it's not just looking at the top 5. It covers all the relevant outstanding issues that haven't been resolved by you as a business, and you and your team need to work on. So here we have the Consumer Duty Board report, again fully automated with all the clickable links that we can click on, so breaking it down to executive summary, introduction, executive summary, the consumer duty overview, governance, products and those, the 4 outcomes are there. As you can see, vulnerability, and finally but not least, data, MI, monitoring and reporting. That's the strategy involved in how you're collating, identifying, monitoring and reporting on your data and giving a summary. So just to give you an example here, then you recognize this from the high level report we've just been through, but we've then got the key areas. This is the executive summary, but it's also a fillable, so a report PDF, so you can then add in your relevant details in here in this section to build out your executive summary on the key issues that you're seeing in your business. And then it pulls down for the individual areas. So this is the overall consumer duty area, there, the implementation area really, what planning you've done, what project planning you've done, and then obviously what Model Office is then doing is validating that automatically against the latest rules and regulations. You've then got all the key areas, what is outstanding, and what are the key areas regarding the target remedy data I showed and how that's been answered and so forth. So you can begin to work on that. And then you have a template here which you can then build out. It's a fillable PDF template across all the relevant action areas that the FCA want to see that you as a firm are evidencing across your test findings, if they're completed, who's responsible. I mentioned that good outcomes, pass or fail, complaints resolution, date completed, and any recommendations to the board, and you can RAG rate it here. And then you can add notes to this individual area. And it's the same principle, the same structure for all the relevant areas that apply to the validation of your hard work that you've done on the consumer duty implementation over the last year or so. So you've got the governance here, same principle, pulling over the key action tracking issues, and then again giving you that template with all the relevant areas the FCA want to see that you've implemented, and then you can add your notes in like so. And so then you've got the 4 outcomes, again same principle. As you can see, you've got across all those 4 outcomes, and then we've got the vulnerability issues as well, as we can see. Moving forward through this, there we go, there's consumer vulnerability, gives you the score across each section. Outstanding areas, again pulling in all the relevant issues that the FCA want to see included, and then your notes and showcasing the good work that you've done, overall findings, changes to any business strategies and so forth, and then finally data, monitoring and MI. And last but not least is your board sign off. So at the end of the day, once you're happy with it, you've completed it, and you're happy to present it to the board or the senior team, then all you'll need to do then is insert the date, and then add the relevant signature and details there. It's also got links to the relevant areas in the rule books that apply to the reason why this is important. So hopefully that gives you an overview of how we are automating the necessary strategic reports and the Consumer Duty Board report.